move into a very important subject, subject of slavery. The painting here is called Chains Under a Blinding Sun. The composition deals with the theme of slavery in a tripartite triple structure of a rather daunting intensity. A triple rhythm surges through the planes in which dark blue figures are set against the deep yellow surface of interlocking forms and shapes. Long lines with the encircled rings run toward each other and then converge under a blazing sun and then expand downward, overlapping the figures and along the way inserting accents and elements that are associated with symbols of bondage and chains. The setting intense concentration and compression convey an overwhelming sense of tension in the evocation of mental and physical frustration and tribulation of human experience in the spirited struggle for freedom. And shows the same thing when you move to the next painting on the Indian plight. The natives, the American natives that endured so many wars, called bleeding eagles. Here the work on the American native depicts the scene imparting various allusions, symbolism and contrasting element. The composition sets intense dark blue figures inside two red triangular planes whose upper part recedes toward creating a V-shaped central section dominated at the center by two fighting eagles. The eagles span their wings in an upside-down crisscross formation, scattering flying feathers over a grey-white space, bluish flowing forms that outline drawn faces of some native chiefs. Right at the center, at the top, among those chiefs, you see Pontiac, and then Joseph, and Chief Cochise, Crazy Horse, Black Hawk, Red Cloud, Sitting Bull. Above the chief's heads and across the upper plane, sweeping shapes of red strips with black contours fusing with flowing lines of varying density. They appear dripping in rhythmic succession and intensifying the movement and tension of the scene. And this takes us from here, the subject of slavery, the subject of Indian. We go to the next painting of a very important and famous event on the Civil War, the American Civil War. The painting is called the split, North-South split, basing its subject on the American Civil War and related events. The composition here depicts a scene divided in three sections and surrounded by light-colored bluish space in which schematic forms outline the face of Abraham Lincoln, with Lincoln on one side, on the right side, and on the opposite side the faces of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. Their heads are turned toward the central image, showing on the very top a split heart, a female figure diving over a child falling between two fighting figures. The fighting figures are outfitted, one in grey and one in dark blue, reflecting the Confederate and Union armies. And then on the right side of the painting, the plane deploys blue-black figures against an orange-yellow ground, patterned with crosshead shapes that seem to increase in density with the gesture and movement of the brushstroke. And then around them, circular forms of broken or loosened chains around the figures. Join the figures in doing battle within the organism of the compressed space. And the left side of the pictures depict falling figures and struggling figures in a setting which is very heavy with symbolic content and allusion to surrounding events, including allusion to the Mexican-American War and the westward expansion. From the 19th century, we moved to a painting called Glimmering as the dawn of the new century, the 20th. A tripartite composition that carries the tone and atmosphere of the imagery into the 20th century. The attitudes and motions of the figures and forms appear defined by a combination, a web of far-lit strings that emerge from a semi-sphere with an umbrella shape of a nuclear bomb or nuclear explosion, a reflection of the 20th century and life under the shadow and existence of atomic power, atomic explosion, and atomic wars, as has been shown during World War II when the atomic bomb fell and was dropped on in Japan, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These strings seem to emerge from this sphere that remind us of this terrible presence of nuclear explosion in our lives. And around it, around this picture, we see a sort of menacing lines that tangle up the spanned wings of a bird who's wishing he could fly. And these strings extend themselves over the surface with intense forms and textures throughout the picture. The planes, the structures of these triple plane is dominated by the physical presence of a number of figures here whose posture and gesture orient the shapes and forms of other figures and blend the varying relationship with their surroundings. The space separating the three planes reveals imagery or suggestion of sensuous figures flowing with inner matter.